Hey guys, what's up? Here's my interview with Days of the Bagnold Summer director SimonBird. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. It's a really very subtle family comedy and features really two great performances from Monica Dolan and Earl Cave. Just enough said. Just tell me what you think of Days of the Bagnold Summer. And yeah, it's very understated, subtle, but very funny. Really one of those movies that I really hold dear to my heart. So since I have a very close relationship with my mother as well, but not in a Norman Bates style thing. And she's coming into the room right now. So here, that's the intro. Check out the interview with SimonBird. Most importantly, check out Days of the Bagnold Summer. All right, guys, bye. Simon, I see a lot of movies, and I think Days of the Bagnold Summer, just upon a superficial glance, can be considered your average coming of age drama. Fair enough. But I think this movie is revolutionary in the sense that it really doesn't appeal to those beats or tropes or the rhythms of your average. I don't know how to put it into words, but it's a very restrained and subtle film. And is that a main reason why you were attracted to this story? Because it's really a more human story than an actually trope driven narrative.
Totally, yeah. I mean, that's very kind, but yeah, that was definitely our thinking going in. It's based on a graphic novel by a guy called Geoff Winterhart, and it was those qualities that attracted me to the book in the first place. That it's a very quiet, understated story, if you can even call it a story, and the humor is very restrained as well. And I tried to reflect that in the way we shot it as well, which was inspired actually by the way I feel that some of the best comedy films from the 60s and 70s were shot, which is from with a bit of distance and with a bit of empathy, hopefully. So yeah, that's amazing that you picked up on that, and thank you so much.
Speaking of amazing, Monica Dolan, Earl Cave, both great performances. But right after this movie, what I want to do is I just want to see all of Monica's cinematic work after this. And you as a filmmaker, did you already know how talented she was to take on this project? And then within your final cut, how blown away were you by her just overall performance in this?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess just to sort of follow up on your previous question as well, one of the amazing things about the book that we tried to keep for the film is that it's not just your standard coming of age story. It doesn't just focus on Daniel, the 15-year-old, as I think most films of this genre would. What's great about the book is that it's very even-handed and totally balanced throughout, and is as much a coming-of-age story for Sue as it is for Daniel. So it was really crucial that we cast both parts well. And Monica was always top of the list for me. She's probably not a big name in America, although hopefully that will change in years to come. But she's pretty established in the UK as a TV actress, in both comedy and drama. She's won a BAFTA for a very serious role she played as a serial killer. But she's also very famous here as a sitcom actress as well. And that seemed so crucial, that it was somebody who could, do both things, who could both make you laugh one moment and make you cry the next. So she always felt like a no-brainer for me. Earl, who plays Daniel, was more of a find. We had open auditions, and he was just one of the kids we saw, and he jumped out straight away as I think a lot of boys that we saw read it as a sort of just as a standard grumpy teenager, but he brought a bit of soul and heart and humor to it. So I couldn't have been happier with those two.
Speaking of just these kind of perfect marriages and collaborations, how important and how just beneficial was it just to have just Belle and Sebastian? You have the graphic novel, but the music is its own universe in and of itself. I don't think a lot of movies have that kind of really great synthesis. Can you just talk about that? How important was it to have the music be an integral part of the narrative?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was crucial. I looked upon the music really as sort of in a similar way to how the drawings affect the book. it's something sort of ineffable that lends a tone to the story. And I wanted the music to do a similar job that Joff's amazing drawings do, which is they sort of humanize these characters and they have real wit and warmth to them. And for me, Belle and Sebastian, nobody does that better than Belle and Sebastian, who have, a career, decades-long career of writing warm and witty music. So yeah, I think they really helped to establish the tone. But then I was also alive to the fact that it might be a little overbearing in terms of its sort of warmth, and that it might sort of become whimsical or wet. And so that's why I thought it was important as well to throw in the odd jab of heavy metal just to sort of wake the audience up at times, and to sort of get a glimpse of what's going on inside Daniel's head.
This is a very general question, Simon, but after watching this movie, I was assuming that the director would actually have maybe 10 or 12 credits, under your belt. And this is not, you don't have 10 or 12. What was your biggest, in your opinion, education as a filmmaker? Because this looks like it was shot by someone who knew really what he was doing and had a really great body of work behind him.
I guess well, first of all, I love films, so I watch a lot of movies. So I think that's where my sort of taste has been developed in terms of my visual style. But also, though this is my first time directing, I have spent a lot of time on sets. In the UK, I'm sort of more established really as an actor, and I've filmed lots of series of sitcoms and a couple of films that I've acted in. So I've sort of, I've had experience working with lots of directors and seeing what works, what I like and what I don't like. So I felt very comfortable being on set, and I didn't, I think I was able to. I've been through the sort of the stress of your first few weeks on set, so that didn't bother me, and I was able to sort of concentrate on the look and the performances from the get-go. So I think that helped.
I don't see many. I see a lot of movies, but I'm trying to think of a lot of movies that deal specifically just really locked in on the relationship between a mother and her son. Can you think of, you watch a lot of movies. Is that another reason why this appealed to you? Because this is just a really locked in view of these two people and how they relate to each other. And you don't see that much in cinema in any year with this kind of work.
Totally, yeah. I think that was another big reason why we thought this was the right project. Felt like there's a real niche in the market for it, and I think you're right. Yeah, I can think of a lot of, films we talked about. One that's sort of mother-son relationship, I guess, is Boyhood. But mother-son relationship. And then there's sort of father-daughter films like Paper Moon is a favorite of mine. But yeah, there's really very few. I think I always knew I wanted to make a very small film, and one that really focused on one key dynamic or one key relationship. So that this sort of ticked that box.
Simon, before I let you go, I do a movie podcast, and a lot of things we do is we recommend movies to our listeners. And I know this is really hard, but right off the top of your head, can you name one of your all-time favorite movies? And what is it about this specific movie that still resonates with you today, not just as a nostalgic piece, but it's still relevant to what you're going through right now regarding your tastes in cinema?
Well, yeah, that is hard. I guess a film, there's so many. Well, I'm planning to watch tonight, actually. I'm really excited because I've got lined up, I'm going to watch Opening Night, the Cassavetes film. And that's obviously off the back of having watched a lot of other Cassavetes, like A Woman Under the Influence and Killing of a Chinese Bookie, both of which were amazing. I'm also going through a real sort of mumblecore phase at the moment, off the back of having seen Funny Ha Ha, which I think is one of my favorite films of all time. So I'd recommend both those, I guess, which I guess what they share is a sort of a sense of naturalism to the performances, and and an understated style of shooting. It's not style over substance. Quite the opposite. It feels like script and performances come first, and the visuals slightly secondary to those. Despite also there being a real visual eye to it as well. And they're both, despite being sort of sad and genuine films that deal with real emotions, they've also got a sort of sly sense of humor to them as well. So that sort of, those American realist films, I think there is a line that connects Cassavetes and Funny Ha, I think, somewhere.
Simon, thank you for your time. And how good is your day when people will see your film and say, oh, after watching your film, I hugged my mom a little bit harder, or I hugged my son a little bit harder. That must be a great thing for you to hear.
That is really nice. Yeah. And it's, we never set out, we didn't know what the audience for this film was going to be. And from screenings, it's been so great that it really seems to bridge the generation gap, and it's as appealed as much to 55-year-old retiree mothers as it has to the 15-year-old metalheads. So that's great.
Great, Simon. Thank you so much for your time, and looking forward to that Skull Slayer album.
Thanks very much.